Hello and welcome to Friday Finds with Rob Meyer-Kukan.
Thank you once again for joining me. I'm Rob Meyer-Kukan, and I am pleased to introduce to you today my guest, Nancy Taylor. Thank you for being with me today, Nancy.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for asking.
Sure. So would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am the trumpet instructor at University of Texas at El Paso, and I'm also an occupational therapist. About 8 years ago, I decided to get out of academia, and so I went to OT school, but academia just never went away. So now I teach here, and I'm an OT. I recently wrote a book that incorporates both skill sets, what I know about music and what I know about occupational therapy.
Excellent. And so tell me, what do you teach? And where do you teach?
I teach trumpet. I
Okay.
teach trumpet and brass methods and more trumpet. I have 26 trumpet players, which is way too many. And I'm in El Paso, Texas at UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso.
Awesome. So will you tell us about your book?
Yes, my book, is Teaching Healthy Musicianship, the Music Educator's Guide to Injury Prevention and Wellness. This is the first book of its kind, and the way it came about was right at the beginning of my occupational therapy education. I was taking anatomy class and a physiology, and through anatomy class, I was learning where the flexor muscles are and the extensor muscles are and the muscles of the face and the back. And so I came to understand really clearly why students were coming to me saying, gosh, I have this pain in my arm right here, and I don't know why it is. And this would maybe be a piano player who sat in a chair that's way too high and practiced for 3 straight hours. It's like, well, you're inflaming your extensor muscles, which originate at the lateral epicondyle, and that's why you're getting tennis elbow. So through understanding, through what I'm learning at UTEP in anatomy, and then understanding how people play instruments, the temperament of instrumentalists, which is like, we're going to just practice forever, and understanding the positions in which they play, I came to understand exactly why musicians are getting injured. And so many people said to me, you should write a book. Oh my gosh, you should write a book. Every person I helped with whatever pain they had said, you should write a book. Because they said, why didn't I know this? Why didn't anyone ever tell me? And it's just not part of the music curriculum.
Right.
Yet. Now we have this, which I would love to be part of the music curriculum at some point.
Yeah. It's really encouraging. I have heard that over the last several years, the National Association of Schools of Music, when they are working with schools to be not registered or licensed, but to be listed as in the National Association of Schools of Music, that as they're putting together their standards and things, they're including a lot of information and requirements about prevention of injuries and anatomy and understanding hearing health. That's a big thing as well. So yeah, it's this is a great resource. It's a fantastic resource.
It makes my department chair very, very happy.
That's great.
We are one of very few colleges that has an applied professor who's an OT on board. And in fact, I just completed a video series on healthy musicianship.
Wonderful.
It'll go on our UTEP YouTube page.
Okay.
And it addresses all those things NASM wants us to address, which is hearing health, musculoskeletal health, ergonomics, and general wellness.
Wonderful. Well, I'll make sure to get the link for that and put it in the video description so
Great.
people can go to that. Yeah, that'd be great. So, so you've told us what the book is. Can you tell us a little bit about more about what's contained in it? Is it just a how-to, or is it just specific instruments?
Well, yes, both. Both. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of things. You know, what I've discovered through OT is that there are many things that we do in our daily lives that might not bother us, but when we pick up the instrument, then we start to feel a little ache or a pain or something isn't quite going right. And maybe the neck pain that a violinist feels when playing violin is not so much from how they hold the violin, but maybe it's from how they're driving their car or how they're sitting at the desk or sorting music while sitting on the floor. So because of that, because of my understanding that anything you do in your life can really impact the way you feel when you play your instrument, there is a section in the book on ergonomics. Ergonomics is a big thing. Ergonomics has to do with the way the work environment and the person fit together. It's about being comfy. So that can pertain to how we sit at our desk. Are we ergonomically appropriate at our desk? Are the hips at 90 degrees, the knees are at 90, and our feet are steady? How we sit at the desk, how we drive in the car. There's a chapter in the book on how you drive, how to position your seat, put your head on the headrest, how to drive in the car. And then there are sections on each instrument, on each instrument group. There's one on brass, one on strings, percussion, and voice, and woodwinds. And each one talks about ergonomics. Each one of those sections has a section on correct seating and correct hand position, correct playing position of those instruments, standing and sitting. And then the ergonomic factors, how to figure out if the instrument is too big or too small, and the modifications that you can make to fix those things. There's a chapter on workplace safety.
Wonderful.
Which is something nobody ever talks to music ed kids about how to organize your closet so that like a big old rain stick doesn't fall on your head. I've heard a lot of stories of people who, rolled a piano over their toe and got 2 stitches, and it's like right before contest that something falls on their head or splits open the toe. This stuff happens a lot. Really, I did a little query on Facebook, and the answers that people came up with were hysterical. People have messed themselves up all over the place. And it's just because of careless organization in their classroom, and especially in the storage room. And, you have generous band parents who want to build you these shelves, but then they collapse. So there's a big section in the book on workplace safety. There's a whole chapter on hearing health, on protecting your hearing. There's a whole chapter on vocal health, because not just music educators, but educators in general are really good at straining their voices. And at the end of the first 2 weeks of school, no one can talk.
Right.
So there's a section on back wellness, how to be an educator for 40 years, pushing around timpani and lifting boxes of band candy and whatever, and not throwing out your back. So there's quite a bit of information just for the educator on like how to stay well and have a long career and not have to take days off because your voice is gone or your back is thrown out. And then there's all the information for the students on each instrument.
Yeah.
So it is for educators and for students.
Wonderful. And what I really like about it is that it gives a lot of technical stuff without being overwhelming or hard to understand. You make it very clear. There are a lot of pictures in the book, so there's also detailed descriptions and instructions on how to do some of the exercises or activities that you have suggested. Yeah, a lot of stretches. So. And then prevention, as well as what to do if this hurts.
Yes.
which is great.
Yes. And the prevention is obviously the most important part, but the way I address it is prevention through understanding. It's important to know that it's just like we were talking before. It's important to know that all of the muscles that move your hand in this position and straighten your fingers, all of those muscles are right here. And if you hurt right here, it's because all of these muscles are really, really tired.
Yeah.
So there's a good bit of anatomy in the book, but I try to explain it in a way that it's not really that frightening, because people say anatomy. I mean, you and I think it's fascinating, but other people might be scared. It's important to understand, especially the arms and the shoulders, how this stuff works, so that you can understand why something might hurt and how you would avoid that.
Right. And it's kind of neat, as I've been working through some of my own stuff with this, is the light bulb moment when people realize how those anatomical landmarks really do matter. And, oh, I'm doing a lot of lifting. I think it would hurt here, but why does it hurt here? And the difference between pain here and here. It's amazing.
Huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
then
just,
you tell them and they say, oh, okay, I'll hold my cello this way. And then their pain goes away. That's a beautiful moment, isn't it?
it is,
That's what
it is.
Yeah.
And it's that amazing aha or light bulb moment that
Absolutely.
that we live for. Educators, we all live for that. And so yeah,
Yep.
pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how we can purchase the book.
Well, the book is published by Oxford University Press.
Okay.
And so you can buy it through oup.com, I think. But it's also on amazon.com.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
super easy to find on amazon.com. And I think it's $30. Unless you want to buy the hardback copy, and that's $100. But
So
I don't think even my mother's going to buy the hardback copy.
buy the hardback copy if you're going to have it in a shelf with a box
Yes.
and your autograph in it, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you know what I'd like to mention?
Yeah.
You asked what was in the book. Vocal health, hearing health, stretching. There's a whole section on marching band. Now, people have written books on marching band. You can buy a whole freaking book on marching band. But this is about the health and wellness of marching band, like how important conditioning is, and how important understanding the first aid that goes with marching band is. First aid is very important. And then there's talking about coping with the heat and different types of uniforms. But I hope people will buy it. I hope they like it. You know what I would really, really like to see happen is that this book become part of recommended reading or required reading classes, because music educators need to understand why their first chair flute player is complaining about pain,
Right.
and what they can do to help it. They would say to that first chair flute player, go get a wrist splint, put some ice on your elbow,
Right.
take a day off of practice, rather than having them show up the day before contest and saying, my doctor says I can't play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think this is just really important information to share.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you having me here.
We are like-minded individuals, and I will and have certainly added it to the list of resources and suggested readings when I do conferences and workshops. It's right at the top of the list of excellent resources to have.
Thank you
So,
so much.
so how can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, I'm at the University of Texas at El Paso,
Mm-hmm.
and my email address is NE Taylor, because my name is Nancy Evelyn, NETaylor@utep.edu. And I'm happy to answer emails. I love getting a mystery diagnosis. Oh, that's so much fun for me. I know it is for you too. When somebody says, I don't know what to do about this. I've had chronic pain for 4 years. I'll say, oh, let me get my hands on you. I love those moments.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It is.
So the last thing I like to do in these interviews is to ask my guests to give us some words of wisdom, to share maybe the best piece of advice you were ever given. And it can be silly or it can be serious. It can be related to this topic or completely unrelated to this topic. So what would be your words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. What always comes to mind is in life, with everyone you deal with, if it comes between being right and being kind, always be kind.
That's beautiful.
That's about it.
That's a wonderful sentiment for a Friday.
Isn't it though?
That's
You
great.
don't always have to be right. Even if you are right, it's okay. You just say, oh, yeah, be kind.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Nancy, for taking the time to answer my questions and to share this information about this extremely valuable resource. Thank you to everyone who is watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Check out Nancy's book. I will have a link in the description about how you can purchase the book and how you can get a hold of her. And I hope that everyone has an awesome day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Join me next week as I interview clinical psychologist and creator of the Aroma Freedom Technique, Dr. Benjamin Purkis.